Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners. And today we want to talk about 3R marketing. I think this is a phrase our clients hear a lot, but we want to unpack this because I think in the marketing world, a lot of people get caught up in offers, they get caught up in ads. They're inundated with talk of funnels and landing pages and all that. And really, a lot of what we talk about internally is this 3R approach. And today sounded like a good day to unpack it. So, Doug, get us going.
Yeah, if you know me, I like my alliterations and acronyms. And so the three R's was something that I basically tried to look at what are the non-negotiable things that a brick and mortar gym has to do. I believe non-negotiable in this current landscape has to do and doesn't have the hurdles of things like paid ads and none of these have like large costs to them. And so they just really require time and some effort. And so, not saying the other things aren't good to do as well, but if we're talking to somebody that either has limited time, limited resources, the three R's are certainly, I think, a staple in all of our clients' monthly marketing plan. So, the first R would be referrals. And so, with referrals, there's kind of two angles that I think of. One is what we're doing kind of systematically, evergreen. And then the second angle is what we're doing maybe for that month that is a theme to it. So we keep it pretty simple, but evergreen is just making sure we have something at point of sale. So it could be in their welcome bag, they're getting a 7-day guest pass. It could be in their onboarding sequence. We're asking them if they know anybody that's a good fit, but something that we can duplicate and standardize across the membership. That would be kind of your evergreen referral strategy that's running in the background. Now, although that's good, and this is maybe something to think of with the three R's as a whole, is none of these strategies are like going to flood your business with clients. It's more so thinking, okay, how can I have a net positive this month with client growth, right? So if I'm going to lose 3, how can I go add 5 or 6? And so if you're doing these things, if each generate 1 or 2 people from it, that's all I'm really looking for at the end of the day. So if that evergreen, you set it up once and it runs for every new person, if that generates you 1 or 2 clients every month, that's a win. And then the second piece of the referral would be that month, putting a little bit of an extra focus on what you're doing for referrals. So it could be that you're handing out VIP passes to clients at the end of sessions. It could be that you're doing a referral contest. But I think my lesson with referrals is, yes, they will happen organically. And yes, everybody says that's where they get most of their business from. But I want to be in the driver's seat and I want to have kind of proactive strategies every month to generate those referrals.
Well, and not unlike what we see with external marketing, once you've talked about referrals from day one, a point of sale, and then you're talking about it in the onboarding and you're reinforcing it on a monthly basis with themed stuff. I mean, it just stays top of mind, right? So I think sometimes people, if they can't directly attribute something, they don't understand all the factors that led to it. And when somebody says, well, my all my referrals are word of mouth, they just kind of happen, whatever else, like perhaps, but some of the time it's because of all the work you've been putting in to keep this kind of growth from inside out approach happening. So undoubtedly, the more you do of this, the more referrals are going to happen, whether they're direct or indirect.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And the second R is on the reactivation side. And this is, I would say, probably from a like, obviously there's no capital to reaching out to former clients. When I say there's no monetary expense, I would say aside from paid ads, this is probably the most fruitful strategy that we have in place every month. And some of that is just with a lot of our clients, they've been in business for several years. And so I certainly would make sure that reactivations are a play that we have every month. But it's certainly also tied to how long you've been in business, right? And how many former clients you do have. former trials, former clients. So that would be step one for the second hour with reactivations is I would want to make sure that we have a segmented list of those people, right? For both text and email reach out, a list of people that have been in your building and experienced what you do, but are not currently active. How we speak to those people is different than somebody who's never been in my doors before, right? And so with the reactivation stuff, I think starting with the segment of just making sure, like we just call it our alumni list, but just making sure that we have a list of everybody that's been in our doors that experience what we do, knowing that fortunately in our business, most people that leave don't leave due to poor service, right? It's not that they had a bad experience. That I'm sure that happens, and it probably happens without us even noticing. But the far majority of people leave due to life circumstances, right? Schedule changes, financial, medical, what have you. And so all of those scenarios are going to change at some point in the future, right? Hopefully for their sake. And so if we can stay reconnected with them and have the ability to contact them in the future, there's a strong chance that we can get them back in the door.
Yeah, I think when people make that kind of mental shift from reactivation to reconnection, they do so much better with this because when they think in terms of just a traditional reactivation stuff they see anywhere else, everybody has a campaign that, oh, send this out where you're essentially just offering a some sort of membership. Maybe there's an incentive attached to it to somebody who used to be here, which it can be effective, but it's not nearly as effective as staying reconnected, making people feel like they're still a part of your community, they're still welcome, they're still cared about, because that frankly that just doesn't happen a whole lot with business in general, and maybe that doesn't happen for a whole lot of people in general, right? So feeling connected, it's really disarming, right? Because you sometimes you leave and you're a little sheepish about wanting to come back because you're like, well, how are they going to feel about this? Or are they mad at me because I left or something like this? But if you're the one taking the first step and making sure that relationship is strong and they feel welcome and they feel connected, I mean, it's an easy next step for them because they've already been there, and all the things that they may fear about going to a new place, they don't have those fears about. This is comfortable to them, right? So if you're not just staying connected or reconnecting with former clients or former trials, man, you want to talk about a golden opportunity. If you've got any sort of database, if you've been in business for any period of time, that is just an untapped gold mine.
For sure. And we always found it helpful, depending upon the stage of business you're in. This is a great metric to have your coaches have something tied to it for. So maybe you set a goal for them to reconnect with X number of clients. Now, how they reconnect shouldn't be systemized, it's one of those, this definitely falls into that category of the most impactful strategies are going to be the ones that are the least systemized or least scalable, right? You mentioned any franchise, any big corporation has a list of former buyers, former contacts, and they can send out a mass campaign and offer somebody a special. And again, those can certainly work. And we can certainly maybe have certain seasons throughout the year where we do that. However, if you have the bandwidth and you're looking to grow the one-on-one personal outreach, and frankly, the outreach is often like we coach our coaches to make it nothing about fitness, nothing about the gym. And it's more just reconnecting. Maybe they saw something on social. That's one of the benefits we have is most of these people, we're still digitally connected with them on social. So maybe we see that their daughter graduated from college. So we send them a little text to say, hey, congrats on that or whatever, right? It's oftentimes, I think we forget that they know who you are and they know that you have a gym. So we don't need to remind them of that. We just need to reach out and genuinely see how life is going. And sometimes that leads to, yeah, I need to get back in the door and we can extend that invite. Sometimes it doesn't lead to anything else, but that's totally fine. And I think is still beneficial long term for the community.
All right. Well, we've touched on two of the three R's. So let's dig into the third R.
So the third one is your community relationships and figuring out a way to build the connection with the other small businesses that you have in town. And this one, I think, is certainly beneficial. We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't. And it's the one that probably feels the most awkward for people because they're dealing with the public and they're dealing with businesses that sometimes don't want to be bothered. And there's certainly a level of rejection that can happen that sometimes slow people down. However, framework that I would go into the relationship piece out in your community with is the gift idea, right? Most people that interrupt, if you know that if you have that salesperson that walks in your door, they're usually asking for something, right? They're usually asking for your business or they're offering to do something that it doesn't feel like a gift, right? Whether we're talking strategies like going in and giving gift cards to the employees or anything like that, I want it to very much feel like a gift. And so that's where things like having gift cards, having trial passes, we coach our gym owners to make up little gift baskets with some grab and go snacks in it. And, just dropping that off, basically, I think of just playing Santa Claus, like going in and dropping off the gift, just really trying to be the nice guy in town and getting as much of those gifts out there in the community, I think is a really powerful strategy rather than trying to go in as much as if you're listening to this podcast, you're the type of owner that is like, okay, how can I grow and how can I add more and how can I JV with these people? The reality is like Susie, who owns the coffee shop, is not thinking about JVing with other business. She's just working her cash register at her coffee shop. So the more we can go in with, hey, here's some gifts, or hey, I'll give you a free membership if you let me raffle off this thing this month. Or hey, can I buy a gift card to your coffee shop and raffle it off with a month of training at my gym? Anything that's more of a gift based is certainly very helpful as a strategy. The other strategy that it's not new, but we've put a bigger focus on it recently, and it's shown to be beneficial, is looking at the people that you do get referrals from. I'm thinking your kind of your medical network of people, right? Your therapists, et cetera, and inviting them in to do some type of workshop and putting them on the pedestal. So rather than saying, hey, how can I go JV with you? Or how can you send me clients? Or how can I send you clients? Literally just inviting them in, even if you have to pay them, but inviting them in to come and speak with your team. The team, I will say, is we're seeing that as more beneficial than actually doing a client workshop. Not to say the client workshop also couldn't work, but if you have a 2, 3, 4 trainers on your team, getting the therapist or fill in the blank medical practitioner to come and speak to your team, super beneficial because one, they feel good about it because they got invited to speak. They get to showcase their expertise. 2, your team gets education. But 3, the real benefit is rather than having it feel like this big structured JV relationship where we're going to track referrals and we're going to have this systematic way to refer people, just by them being in your space, they're naturally going to be more comfortable understanding what you do and referring people. So that has been a very solid strategy for a lot of our clients recently.
Yeah, you touched on some of this local outreach, and honestly, that in our industry right now, that's another untapped opportunity because so many of the franchised businesses are the ones that are moving into other markets. There probably aren't as many independent gyms popping up as there were 7 or 8 years ago. And they have systems that are often built on these really scalable digital approaches that they can, in many ways, choreograph at the corporate level. And this is a really human thing, boots on the ground, that in some ways has been forgotten. And so instead of you being one of 10 different gyms in your general area running a Facebook ad. And clearly we want you to run Facebook ads. If you're listening to this, you're probably at a stage that you have to be running ads on Meta. But you may be one of 10 doing that, whereas there's a pretty good chance you're one of one getting out in the community, building relationships, connecting with other local professionals, becoming kind of that default person that people think of in their local area.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And as a final note, I know this can sound like a lot. I would just kind of reinforce the idea that we're going to pick one thing every month. So one referral strategy, maybe you're going to identify your list of clients that you're going to reconnect with that month. And then what are the one or two businesses that you're going to connect with or go drop off a gift to, and plan those ahead of time. So going into the month, hey, here's the referral thing I'm going to run. Here's the 25 clients. I'm going to literally make a list of them. And throughout the month, these are my people I'm going to reconnect with. And then here's the two businesses, the specific businesses. We find that rather than waking up today and be like, okay, I got 2 hours, who do I reconnect with? If you're proactive about it and planned out, that's the part that can be systematic. What you say and kind of how you do it is the art, but the plan of it ahead of time certainly can be more thought out.
All right. Well, that's the 3R approach that we spend a lot of time on with clients. And so hopefully you're going to take some of this and plug this into your business. And that's another episode of The Wealthy Gym Owners.